Good evening, Winnipeg, and welcome back to another edition of the Mike Vogiatzakis for Mayor Live Show. I'm Brad Wilder, your host. Tonight, we've got a great show planned for you. We're going to be talking about the issue, that one issue that seems to be on everyone's mind, which is, well, something that's been encroaching on Winnipeg's public for a very long time. It's not just in the 2000s. We're going back to the mid-'80s, early 80s even. And if you take a look at what's happened and transpired over that period of time, Mike is right. You know, we've turned into a Gotham City, a dark place, and that's what needs to be looked at. And, you know, you make Mike mayor, and I guarantee you he's going to take care of that issue and all the issues that surround Winnipeg. He's very hands-on and very much the leader that Winnipeg needs. Over the past several days, Winnipeg is once again being shaken by reports of serious violent incidents, murders, stabbings, deaths, beatings. The list goes on. Many residents are asking whether the city is becoming less safe and what can realistically be done about it. So tonight, it's not about creating fear. It's actually about asking that question that many Winnipeggers already are asking and discussing and trying to figure out some practical solutions for. I can tell you one thing. The solutions that you've thought of, Mike has also thought of. And Mike's gone over and above because Mike is a listener. Mike does like to listen. And when he listens, he gets good input. And that input really does help, I guess, guide his decisions. And those decisions, when it comes time, are very much the decisions that Winnipeg needs to make it a safer place. So public safety is what we're going to talk about tonight. Join me, as always, as Winnipeg mayoral candidate Mike Vogiatzakis is coming up right after this.
At ASAP Auto Glass Winnipeg, we know you need it repaired fast. That's why we do all the work, from contacting AutoPack and starting your claim to replacing that broken windshield. We make sure your visit is carefree with quality service you know and love. From automotive to industrial, we replace and repair. From cars, trucks, and SUVs to industrial glass, we get the job done right the first time. At ASAPAutoglass.com, our website has all the answers you're looking for when repairing or replacing your automotive glass. Winnipeg Auto Glass Repair is ASAP Auto Glass. Experts and fast. Book your appointment today.
Welcome back, everybody. Mike is standing by. Mike, are you there?
I'm here. Are you there, Brad?
I am, buddy. A long ways away today. We're broadcasting from Alberta, back to Manitoba, and back to Alberta again. So around the country we go. We've got a lot of viewers and a lot of listeners that are online with us tonight and going to be joining the show from coast to coast. Mike, it's a tough show tonight. We've got to talk about public safety, and a lot's been going on in Winnipeg. So why don't you kind of say hi to everybody, and then we'll jump into the show.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, listening, sharing the show, and supporting the important conversations we are having. One of the things that I'm doing as a mayoral candidate is I've been having that conversation for about 2 years now. I've been listening, and I've been preparing to become mayor of Winnipeg. Whether you support me, whether you support another candidate, or you're just undecided, thank you for taking the time to stay informed. And that's what it's all about, is staying informed. This campaign has always been about listening to the people of Winnipeg, talking honestly about the challenges this city is facing. Tonight is going to be an important discussion. a very important discussion. And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to get deep and dirty on what's happening in the city.
Absolutely, Mike. It's when we talk about public safety, you've had a situation in your life that kind of really became a public safety issue for you, and a personal one at that. And I know a lot of people have heard, but you're going to have new people joining us every single week and taking a listen to what's gone on. And Mike, I guess we need to kind of talk quickly about what's going to happen here in the future, and really what happened in the past, because what happens in the future is dictated by what has already happened, right? You kind of got to go back and look at what's already happened and say, how do we take care of these issues? And one of them is your brother's murder. And that was a sad day, and it's been a really tough year and a couple of months. I know that it's devastating, and it's so gut-wrenching to think that somebody like you has to step up and be the mayor because of this situation. And I credit you and commend you on doing that. And it's really one of those situations that I think gives you personal drive. Is that right?
That's correct. I never thought that I would run for mayor in this election. And unfortunately, January 24th, 2024, changed my life forever. My youngest brother, Kyriakis, who I love dearly and spent a lot of time with, the youngest brother and the oldest brother. And we loved each other. And the Vogiatzakis family is a very close, tight-knit family. And we've always helped each other and been there for each other and showed all the love to one another that we possibly could. On January 24th, my life tragically changed forever when I got the call from the Cork and Flame saying that there was something terribly wrong. And the staff wouldn't exactly tell me what had happened, but they said, you need to get down to the Cork and Flame now. And when I would ask them, well, what happened? Is my brother okay? They would say, Mike, you need to come down. You need to come down right away. It's urgent. And then one of them said that it was life-threatening. The Kyriakis had been really hurt. So I phoned my brother, Peter, who lives down the street from me. We jumped into my truck and we drove down to the Cork and Flame, probably doing 140, 150 miles an hour. And in my gut, I had a feeling that something terrible had happened. Something terrible had happened. In my gut feeling, I thought Kyriakis was either really hurt or he died. And that night, it stuck in my head forever. When we got to the Cork and Flame, we found out that Kyriakis was murdered. Murdered in that parking lot, in the restaurant that he built, that he loved so much. In St. James, where the people loved him, at 5:30 in the afternoon, Kyriakis lay dead in the street. And the system let down our family that day. The federal government, with their catch and release program, allowed a known criminal back in our streets. With a criminal record so long, you'd be astonished to even believe that they would allow him back in the streets. But here he was, back in Winnipeg, on the loose. The RCMP had been looking for him for over a year, and they only found him when he murdered my brother that day on January 24th, 2024. That changed my life forever. It lit a fire in my soul that's not easy to put out. A fire that's going to continue to burn until we fix the problems in Winnipeg. I can straight out tell you, there's nobody, not one person more motivated to make change against crime and the violence than myself. This isn't political. It's personal. It's personal because I don't want this to happen to any other families. I don't want you suffering what we suffered, the courts, the reality, the grief that goes on day after day. So with that being said, on Wednesday, next Wednesday, on the 12th, at the Cork and Flame between 6 and 9, we're having a meet and greets. That meet and greet is going to be really important to myself. It's going to be important to my family. And it's going to be important to the staff and to the community of St. James that Kyriakis cared for so much. He fed people in that community. He loved people in that community. And he was well respected in that community from the younger to the older. So to think at 5:30 in the afternoon with thousands of cars driving down Portage Avenue, Brad, Kyriakis was killed. Not one person stopped. Not one person helped. Not one person was there for Kyriakis. And that day was his final day on earth. So I ask you, it's important for me and our family. If you've ever wanted to help, come down and join us between 6 and 9. I'll be saying a speech. You can make a donation towards my campaign. We really need donations now. If you don't want another 4 years of Scott Gillingham, $20, $100. If you give $100, you get $75 back. We can really use it. There'll be some food outs. It'll be a good time for all the people that are on the same path of wanting to change the city to join each other and make it a fun night at the Cork and Flame between 6 and 9. We're going to try and fly Brad in so he could be there with us and introduce me. With WestJet just getting off a strike, it seems almost impossible, but if there's a will, there's a way.
I needed to know something, Mike. How much time do I get on stage that night with the microphone? Because I got lots to say, and I might take an hour or maybe two. I mean, I'm not running for mayor or nothing, but I still got lots to say. And when you put a mic in my hand, I don't shut up sometimes.
Yeah, you'll do the introduction, you'll talk to people, and then what we want to do with these meet and greets is we want to pass the microphone around, and we want people to ask tough questions. The question is on your mind, and I'll answer that question for you. And I do really want to meet every person. I want to say hi, I want to shake your hand, and I want to get to know you, and I want to hear what's going on in your life and why you want change. And we never want to see another person being murdered in Winnipeg, but unfortunately there's been 30 some odd people that have died since my brother's death.
So Mike, look, the whole idea is to reach a lot of people, get more conversations going, and have that discussion about where the future of Winnipeg is headed. And Mike, you've also got those meet and greets coming up, which are going to be great, but there is some other stuff that's going on too, and you're getting signs out. You're starting to get, signs up throughout the city. You've got a lot of support coming, right? Is that fair to say?
And there's people already stealing our signs. So, is that a sign? People are actually going out there. We've had people call us today saying, hey, somebody stole my sign. And when they're stealing your sign, that you're on the right path. We have a real good chance of becoming mayor of the city. But we need your help to do it. You could request signs. You can go on our website, which is MikeForMayor2026.com. You can make a donation there. You could request a sign. You can get a Mike for Mayor sticker. They're all around the city. People are driving around with them. You could get the I like Mike. Oh, look at that. Brad's got something.
Nobody else can see that yet, Mike.
But it's going to be an interesting night. We really need your support. And listen, the bottom line is we can't do it through Facebook and social media alone. There's a lot of people not on social media. So if you have a neighbor, if you have a friend, get them to come out and get them to find out what the Mike for Mayor campaign is all about. Listen to my speech, ask questions, get a chance to talk, eat some food, and just a time to meet and greet each other. And a lot of people have been asking, Brad. A lot of people have been asking, when are you going to have a meet and greet in the North End? Well, we've set a date. We set a date that we're going to have a meet and greet in the North End. We're coming to you after the North End. We're going to go to the Pony Corral on Pembina Highway, and then following that, we're going to go to Transcona. So we're not going to let too many out at the same time, but on Tuesday, August 18th, we'll be at Vince Lee Community Club for another meet and greet from 6:15 to 9:15. That's going to be a powerful one because the North End has always been left out.
You got an extra bedroom for me? I'll just sleep over.
You may as well. So that's two meet and greets coming up in the next little while. Brad, you show everybody what you want to show, and then we're going to say hi to a whole bunch of people that are watching the show tonight.
Well, we were talking about signs, and I thought, I don't have my Mike Vogiatzakis sign. I'll probably pick one up next week, and then I'll bring it for the show next week or the week after, I guess. But I got my own sign here. I got it yesterday. I'm kind of happy about this sign. This is the Let Alberta Decide, the vote option, obviously separation. I saw these guys parked on the side of the highway yesterday here in Alberta, just outside of town. They had a big tent set up, about 5 or 6 people standing there and talking to anybody who wanted to stop in. So I made sure to stop in and say hello, talked a little bit about Wake Up Canada News, which is my news channel. And, it's going to get to some good interviews here with some good Albertans and Canadians who are fighting the good fight to try to get Alberta to really, I guess, make change in this country, much like you're trying to do in the city of Winnipeg. It comes down to good leadership, Mike, and that's what people are looking for this day and age. We cannot suffer again from people who don't know how to manage this country, and we need to move forward in a way that's going to be, I guess, beneficial to every Canadian and not just the elites at the top. So, Mike, moving on, there's a lot to talk about tonight, so let's get into that. There's reports
Hey, wait,
Oh,
Brad,
what?
we haven't
Yeah.
said hi to anyone yet tonight.
Oh, you didn't? Oh,
We
no, I
can't
thought you
bypass.
did. Sorry.
Oh, no, no. So let's say hi to these people. First of all, we have our famous Gord, who's on the show, and he's got like a whole bunch of beer sitting there, so he's
We
probably
text,
having a
we,
few.
we talk to each other about 3 times a week, eh? Every week he's texting me back and forth. And yeah.
Well, Gord was an employee at the Winnipeg Free Press, and they just let him go.
Did they?
And yeah, they
Oh,
let him go, and I seen that he did a big burnout out of the parking lot, saying goodbye in that way. So
you know
Gord,
what?
hope
We
you
got to
find
we
a
got to
new
we got to
job.
make a call to Kevin. Help Gord out. Make a call to Kevin. Maybe Kevin's got a production room there he can work in. I mean, he knows how to print newspapers like nobody's business, doesn't he?
We got a whole bunch of good people all at the same time. Steve Bage, good evening, everyone. Al Bueller, good evening, Mike Vogiatzakis, Brad Wilder. So I talked to Al Bueller today, and the guy had a miracle happen. Maybe all that praying he did helped him, but he said, Mike, I'm not drinking anymore, and I'm not smoking anymore, and I'm back to work. So good
Good.
on you, Al Bueller. We're happy to see you. Lulu's on the show. Hello, friends. And a whole bunch of people joining us tonight. Debbie, of course, our favorite Debbie on the show.
Jeff is
And
here. Dave Corby's here. Let's see. Who else have we got? Lori Lashinsky is here. Judy Fay, Randolph Zora. Patrick Allard's with us. I want to thank Patrick for stepping in during your last meet and greet for me. I was the guy that was supposed to be there doing that job, and Patrick stepped in. I noticed that there was a few comments online that weren't very positive, but you need to know that Patrick stepped up at a last-minute notice because I had a medical emergency, as we talked about on the last show with my son, and I wasn't able to get to Winnipeg in time. So, Patrick, thank you very much for stepping up, and don't worry about what everybody else is saying because it doesn't matter anyway.
hello, Barb. She says, hi, guys. Angela Kloss is on the show. Bobby James. And the
Mike,
world famous, not Don Cherry, but Mike Cherry.
yeah, Mike Cherry's actually bringing up the first topic tonight, so maybe this is a good time to move into that. Mike, another bad
Gonna deliver-
incident with a transit driver getting stabbed this morning. It's happening, and it's happening throughout the city, and it's not just on transit buses. This particular transit worker was stabbed multiple times, not with a knife, but with a syringe, which makes it, I mean, the mental anguish of that thought in your mind. I mean, wow. Where do you go? You go to the hospital. You say, I just got jabbed twice. Somebody poked me with a needle twice, and I don't know what was in it. I mean, what
It's
a
long-
situation to be in, and sad for
it's a long
anybody. It doesn't
procedure.
matter what nationality you are. It's just a sad story.
Brad, that's a long procedure. When you get stabbed with a syringe, Mike McIver, one of our funeral directors, had the same thing happen to him, where he was stabbed with a syringe at work, where he stuck his hand somewhere and there was a syringe in there, and it was months and months of tests to make sure that he didn't get something that was in that syringe. So this poor bus driver, my heart goes out to you, and my prayers will definitely go out to you. It's going to be devastating for himself and his family to go over this, months worth of tests to make sure that he's going to be okay. First and foremost, every bus driver deserves to go to work knowing that they're going to return home safely. Transit operators provide an essential public service, and no one should ever face violence simply for doing their job. It's absolutely wrong. The city of Winnipeg should work closely with the Winnipeg Police, Winnipeg Transit employees, and representatives in the Winnipeg Police Service to review driver safety, emergency response procedures, operator support, and security measures. We also need to ensure that the drivers have confidence that when they call for help, help arrives quickly. Supporting frontline employees has to be a priority. What's really frustrating for me is, our current mayor has spent all kinds of money foolishly. We can't afford to have another 4 years of Scott Gillingham. Hopefully you agree with me on this. This city has turned into the Gotham City of Canada. There's no doubt about it. You look at cab drivers and they have a pretty good support system when you get in a cab, but you get on a bus and the bus driver is not fully protected. So why not spend money, the foolish money that you spend elsewhere? Why are we not protecting our transit drivers where they're encaged in a unit where nobody could get in at them? And as far as I'm concerned, there should also be doors on that side, the left-hand side of the bus, where a transit driver can get out if he has to and call for help. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. The command center for transit is so outdated that they are not getting the messages when a bus driver is injured or hurt or calls for help. The command center needs to be updated, and a priority for me, being the mayor of the city, is to update the command center so when a bus driver is in trouble, we could get help to him as soon as possible. Why don't we have transit police in the city of Winnipeg? We have these transit vehicles driving around. They look like police vehicles already, and they don't have near the power a police officer has. We need to get transit police in the city of Winnipeg, where transit police take care of transit and keep the people safe on the buses. They keep the bus drivers safe on the buses. Look, Brad, there needs to be change in the city. The violence is completely out of control. And as far as I'm concerned, these bus drivers and the whole transit system should go on strike until they fix these problems and care for these bus drivers, care for the people. You know, it could have been anyone on that bus who was stabbed with that syringe. It could have been numerous people. We need to get our safety in priority. You know, I came up with a plan already, and that's, you know, the transit safety pass that I have. And people push that aside and say, well, you know, that's the only thing we have right now. It works the same as the Liquor Commission. You need to scan your card. Once you scan your card, we get to know who's on the bus. It's not digital ID, but it helps the control center find the person who did the stabbing. We have a better view of what's going on. This also lets you get into the bus shack. That I've come up with the heated bus shacks that are pretty much bulletproof. They're shatterproof, and you need to scan that transit safety card to get in there too. We need to take real action to the crimes and to the things happening in the city. You know, Brad, the other day there was another person stabbed at a bus stop.
Yeah, there sure was, Mike. That recent report is really saddening as well. I mean, if you can't wait for a bus just to go to work or wait to get somewhere in the city and because you're scared of getting stabbed, robbed, or just beaten up, it's, you know, Winnipeg's not for you because that's where you have to really walk up to a bus stop or a bus shack and think, what's going to happen here today? And I have to have my due diligence. I have to have my back to the wall. I have to be careful out here. Somebody could pop out or jump out at any minute from anywhere, especially in the dark late at night. Mike, you know, there's a lot of people asking, how do we stop this kind of violence from happening in the first place? Do you have any answers to that?
There's no single solution, Brad. No doubt about that. But there are practical steps a city can take. Transit stops surrounded by, you know, public spaces need to be well lit, and they're not. They need to be well lit. They need to be well maintained. We need security cameras where people get on the buses and at the bus stops. In my plan, I plan on having a security emergency button that you push. So if you have problems at a bus shack, 911 comes out right away. The city should continue working with police, transit officials, community organizations, and the province on strategies that will improve safety around transit corridors. A mayor can't eliminate crime alone, but a mayor can make public safety a priority. And within my first 30 days in office, I will make the bus system a priority. I will make safety a priority. I'll sit with the mayor, with the premier. I'll sit with the police chief, and I will make changes to the city no one's ever made. Like I said, there's nobody more motivated than myself to make sure the city gets back on track and becomes safe again. We need to use municipal resources effectively and advocate for strong support needed from all levels of government. Residents deserve to feel safe while waiting for a bus. Residents deserve to feel safe walking down the street, and we need to light up the city. I know a lot of people aren't on board with, you know, digital ID and cameras, but listen, we need to put cameras up in spaces that are danger zones, and there's many danger zones, and many people are afraid to go downtown. A quick story, you know, a family came into the funeral home the other day for a funeral service of a loved one, and they made the mistake of booking a downtown hotel. And this family, I can't share what happened to them, but the police did get involved. And let's just say it was a terrifying experience for this family. The hotel would not refund their money. And, you know, they've already lost a loved one. They were struggling enough with that situation. And then the violence they had to deal with downtown took them in a whole other direction, where they literally had to book a ticket out of Winnipeg as quick as they could. They felt totally unsafe there, and they made their funeral arrangements with us. they decided not to have a funeral service in Winnipeg and decided to go back home as soon as possible. It's really unfortunate that people coming from other parts of the world come to Winnipeg and feel this urgency to need to get out because it's not safe. And who knows? In most cities, you book a hotel downtown, that's where the people are, that's where the action is. And I guess that's what they thought. But things went in the wrong direction for them.
Now, Mike, if you become mayor, are you able to eliminate crime? Are you really allowed to do anything? Do you have any power? What's going on there?
So, when you're mayor, you only have, certain powers, and everyone knows that. The one thing we definitely need to do is we need to elect 15 new councillors, as far as I'm concerned. 15 new councillors who have the same mindset of changing the city, making the city a better place for you, me, our families, for the future generation, for our children and grandchildren. And that's got to be the mindset for the person who's going to be sitting in the mayor's chair and the councillors sitting around the table. We need to agree on things. The mayor has a lot of power over the police board. The mayor talks with the police board. The mayor directs the police board on what he wants done. For example, Mayor Scott Gillingham recently said, we're going to do a 10-day sweep. 10 days, imagine that, Brad, and clean up Winnipeg. Well, sure. 10 days isn't enough, Scott Gillingham. So
it's a year-round process, isn't it, Mike?
Right. We want to work with the Premier, Wab Kinew. We want to work with the federal government, and we want to make changes. We want to demand changes, and the mayor has the loudest voice in the city to do that. So be assured, I'm not going to be a mayor who sits there and does nothing. I'm going to be a mayor that's going to make a lot of noise and is going to demand change for our city. Look, my brother was murdered. That's all you need to know. And I deal with families who lose murdered loved ones every day of the week. There's nothing that I haven't experienced as a funeral director that would shake me being a mayor. And
it also brings another side of you that people haven't seen, maybe your compassion, your love, your understanding, things that make you who you really are. And, people can judge you for who they think you are, what they've heard about you, but let's be honest, I've been here for 45 years and I've known you that long that I can honestly stand up and say that if there's anybody who's dedicated, committed, and resilient, it's you. Nobody's going to push you around. Nobody's going to take advantage of you. And nobody's going to be able to coerce you into something that you don't feel has the right morals, ethics, and values behind it. And that's what I think I love most about where we're coming from. We've had a pastor try this for the past 4 years, but the photo ops and the pretty boy image has really, I guess, caused a photo opportunistic kind of an individual to look at me sort of scenario. And you know what? I know you're not that guy. You're willing to get your hands dirty. You're willing to say, back off. You're willing to say, come on, let's go again, or let's get this done. So with you, I think that there's determination, number one. I think that there's strategy, number two. I think that you've got a lot of heart, personality, gusto, they maybe call it, to go out there and give them some of this. And that's not a fist as in fight, but as a fist as in, I'm not going to quit until a job is done. And that for me is something that the city needs. It needs tough leadership. It doesn't need more photo ops. It doesn't need somebody being that guy who's the figurehead of it all. It needs leadership. It needs strength. And you're a strong guy, a very strong guy.
It needs to,
and I don't even want to talk about your black belt. I mean, I don't know if anybody even knows about that yet, but don't mess with him. He's a big boy.
Through the years, I was really involved in martial arts, and I loved it. Look, I'm not a guy that you could push around. There's no doubt about that. I stand up for what's right. I stand up for people. I'll stand up for the citizens, and I'll stand up for you. I'm not a person who's going to push you aside. I'm not about the status quo. I'm here to fight the status quo. I'm here to change the status quo. I'm here to make a difference, and I want to be your voice in City Hall. Scott Gillingham's out at all the pavilions, smiling, wearing his $1,000 suits, and telling people, look who I am. And little does he know, he is literally, it's been an 8-year destruction of the city. If you go before him, Brian Bowman and
Brian
Scott
Pallister.
Gillingham,
Yeah.
It's been 8 years of a disaster in the city of Winnipeg. It hasn't fallen apart overnight. But what drives me crazy is how people sit back, Brad, and watch it fall apart. And they just believe that the status quo is good enough. We're
It's
seeing the
really
crime on our streets. The
it's
next
really
question
easy,
is about
it's
another
really easy
person
to
who was murdered.
criticize, isn't it, Mike? It's really easy to criticize what's going on. How about fixing it? That's the tough part. That's the tough part of the job, isn't it? And that's the part that you really are going to try to tackle.
I think if people give me the opportunity, I think if people get to know who I am, they're going to realize that I'm a real person. I can't be bought, I can't be sold, but I can definitely do the right thing. And I have this saying that I live by: everything in life is on lease. You take nothing with you. It's what you leave behind that matters. And I want to leave a footprint behind on this earth that's going to last forever, to change this city, to make it a safer city for the next generation. And that's what it's really all about. Not about the photo ops, not about getting it out there and cutting ribbons. It's about making change. Change is going to last. And if people would only listen to some of my plans, they make total common sense. You know what? There's people out there that put me down. There's people that say what they want to say, but that doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me one little bit, because I know who I am inside, and I know what I'm capable of doing and what I'm capable of finishing. I'm not a guy who just starts things and goes halfway. I'm a finisher, and that's what I want to do in the city. And anybody who puts down change, anybody who brings change forward that's going to make the city a better city, anyone who has ideas, let's listen to them, because they matter. And Brad, the next question is about another murder.
Yeah, another recent tragedy involved a person who was killed near a bus stop. So many people watching today are asking whether Winnipeg has reached a breaking point. What do you say to families who are frightened by these kinds of incidents, Mike?
I think my heart goes out to every family that has lost someone to violence. And a lot of people have lost people to violence. When tragedies happen, the entire community feels the impact, Brad. People want reassurance. That's what they want. The city leaders are listening, taking action where they have authority, and are working with police, community groups, into a province to improve safety. That's what citizens want. Leadership starts by acknowledging people's concerns, honesty, and then focusing relentlessly on practical solutions rather than pretending the challenges don't exist. And it seems like in Winnipeg right now, Scott Gillingham is pretending that everything is fine in Winnipeg. What are you talking about? It's safe here. Go out in your neighborhoods. Have fun. Well, either you don't hang out in Winnipeg every day, or you're completely oblivious to what's happening in the city. This city is extremely, extremely dangerous. I don't think people have ever felt so uncomfortable in the city of Winnipeg. And now the news is getting out. I mean, this person here stabbed at a bus stop in broad daylight. And how wrong is that? And the terrible thing about this is, who's next? Who's next? Who's going to get stabbed next? Who's going to get shot next? In the last couple of weeks, there's been nothing but shootings, stabbings, violence. It's been all over the news, to the point where some people are not even listening to the news anymore because it's that scary, Brad. And there needs to be change, real change now. There's no room, no time for waiting. I wish the election was today. I wish the election was today so we could start making change tomorrow.
Mike, we've seen a lot, and we seem to always be talking about another violent incident in the city of Winnipeg. Now, whether it's a stabbing, a robbery, a home invasion even, or even a homicide, many people say they simply are exhausted. They feel like the headlines never stop. So before I ask this one question, I'm going to start with this question. Does the mainstream media cover what's going on in Winnipeg accurately and, I guess, efficiently?
The mainstream media covers only what they want to cover. I'm going to give you a perfect example. I was at the safe consumption site the other day when they were supposed to do an open house, and they decided not to do it. The residents in that area are furious about what they're doing in that area. They've spent $1.8 million buying a building to put a safe consumption site up. That neighborhood is in absolute chaos. The people that are running businesses there are being threatened with needles, being hit, being spit at, all kinds of things. And the media only covers what they want to cover. I spoke at that event, and I went there to support that event. Not one media person acknowledged that Mike Vogiatzakis was there. So it just shows you that the media is not telling you the truth. If you're listening to the news and you think everything's okay in the city and they're making it sound like it's just a nice, bright and sunny day, it's not. There's things happening in the city that you don't even know about. There's things happening in the city that people tell you about, and you go, oh no, that's not true. It's not happening in Winnipeg. It is.
Mike,
It's
that
happening in
affects
Winnipeg.
public safety in a big way, Mike. And, I've got to ask you, if people aren't notified by the mainstream media that this is going on, how can they protect themselves? Is the media then doing a good enough job to help protect the citizens of Winnipeg?
I think the media needs to be more truthful, honest with the citizens of Winnipeg. They need to report real crimes, and they need to report real results. They need people to understand what's going on in the city. They need people to understand that the city needs change, and this city is a one-way street to destruction. And would you feel safe? The question is, would you feel safe allowing your child to get on a bus?
We used to
and
take the
drive
bus to the
through?
concerts at the Winnipeg Arena down at Polo Park when I was 14. Everything was awesome. All the way down, all the way back. Everybody looking out for everybody else. People drunk. People were high at the time. People were doing things that they shouldn't be doing, but there was never murder. There was never stabbings. There was never beatings, death. You never talked back or talked badly towards the bus driver. You didn't harass anybody. It was a fun place to be. We enjoyed it. Now it's terrifying. It really is terrifying. Has Winnipeg reached a tipping point, Mike?
Brad, before I get there, I want to say one thing. The other day there was a police shooting in Winnipeg, and they fired numerous shots. And guess what? There was a bunch of kids around as they did this. Like, I'm talking young children. And the media covered it as if nothing happened. Somebody was shot that day, a lady was shot, but they're not telling you what's really happening in the city, and it's concerning. And the media should be held accountable for what's going on in the city, and accountable for what they're telling the citizens, and accountable when somebody dies.
So would you say it's fair to say that they're only going with half the story, not the whole story? They're only giving you bits and pieces to just kind of tickle your fancy?
I think that's what they do. It's almost like, when I do a press conference, I say what I say, and they pick out what they want, to tell the people, and they break up your words, and you listen to your press conference, you go, I didn't say that. So we've gone to the point where we're recording our press conferences so we can play them back ourselves. The media used to be a place, when I was young, I took broadcasting and I worked in radio. And Brad, you worked in TV and radio yourself. And broadcasting was a pretty good place to be back then. And I left broadcasting when they said to me, Q94 FM satellite weather brought to you by Warehouse One. And then where's the satellite weather coming from? Well, you were reading it off the TV screen. There was no satellite weather. And then they would say to you, well, you got to do this and you got to do that. And you'd look at them and go, yeah, but that's not really happening. It's a lie. But they say to you, we're paying you. You read and say what we want you to say. And then I realized that, radio wasn't for me. And I left. And I think the same thing happened to you, Brad, where, you're making good money, but then you're told to lie, and you're told to lie right to people's faces. And what kind of conscience do you have? I have a conscience. So I couldn't do that, and I didn't feel good about it. But to answer your question, is Winnipeg at a breaking point? Brad, I think many people feel like they've lost confidence, that things are not improving. When people tell me they're afraid to walk downtown, afraid to let their children take a bus, or worried about their parents going shopping, those concerns deserve to be taken very seriously. Leadership starts acknowledging those concerns honestly. When leadership acknowledges that, we can't pretend people don't feel this way. They do. A mayor can't solve every crime or change criminal law, but a mayor can make public safety a central priority at City Hall. Work closely with the Winnipeg Police, which I'm going to do. Work with municipal, authorities. Improve the condition of public spaces. Support safer transit. Advocate for stronger provincial, federal government, where there's border changes and broader changes that are needed. Residents want to know their city's focused on basics. Public safety is one of the most basic things that we could focus on. And every mayor needs to make sure that their city is safe. Their priority should be their citizens. And when you go home at night as mayor, you should say, are people walking? Are people living in a safe city? Have I done everything in my power to protect the people, the citizens of the city? Or do I need to do more? And that's what I'll be asking myself every day when I go home. And I know that I have a whole city to be responsible for. And sure, you're not going to solve every murder, and sure, you're not going to stop every stabbing, but you could sure take every possible
Precaution?
precaution. I get frustrated when I talk about this because I look at Winnipeg and they're not taking precautions. You need to take every precaution possible to protect the citizens of the city and make sure the media is telling the truth. And that's one thing I will be doing, is talking with the media and saying, look, either you report the truth or we'll start up our own media station at City Hall and tell people what's really happening in the city.
You know, I got a great comment here from one of our viewers tonight. Susan Hall says, when you're mayor, you got to continue to do this show weekly. You know, something like the State of the City program. This way you can tell citizens exactly what's happening. Nobody trusts the media anymore, she says.
And you know, Brad, that's part of our plan.
That
So
is.
if I become mayor of Winnipeg, Brad Wilder and myself will do a weekly show talking about what's happening in the city, what the city is facing, what our plans are to change the city, how we're going to change the city, and what you need to know as citizens of the city. We're going to be honest about, when we have something up, like a bridge that needs to be repaired, we'll be honest about the quotes and why that person got the job. We are going to break down the city like no one's ever done before. As a matter of fact, you will never see accountability like you'll see with Brad and I. Press conferences will happen when something important happens, and we'll do them often. But we're going to get down to the basics, and we're going to bring common sense back to City Hall. And it'll be a City Hall like you probably haven't seen in years. The changes that will happen will affect your family in a good way, and you will be very, very pleasantly surprised at how much information you'll find out from the new City Hall, the new mayor and councillors.
Now, you know I don't like going off script that much, but let me just take it off script for a second, Mike, please. I noticed a picture that I saw yesterday, and it kind of relates to one of the other questions on the that's coming up here, one of the other comments that was made on the comments section. Grand Forks, they took a picture inside the Grand Forks Mall, and all the stores were closed, and they had all the benches or couches pushed up so that nobody could get across. They had like a tape line that stopped people from going and accessing that part of the mall. There were no stores down there. It was deader than dead. So, look, I got to ask this question because I think it's very important. As downtown used to be booming with businesses here, much like Grand Forks used to be. Shopping centers were our livelihood when the 80s hit. I mean, you see some of those videos now with that Whitesnake song, and you see them reminiscing through the 80s memories, and I'm going, yeah, that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. And boy, I wish the women looked like that again, because I that whole time frame was something that was super special. We'll probably never see again, and if we do, it's going to be queer and weird.
I think people should be singing that song right now. You know, is it quite right? We're not going to take this.
Yeah, that's
No.
right. That's right. So as shopping
We're
has gone
not going
downhill,
to
Mike,
take
years
this.
ago, you never thought of all the trouble that's happening nowadays, but it's absolutely terrible. The mall are dying. The downtown core is closing up and drying up. We keep seeing online that it feels like nobody's in charge, really, Mike. And is that something that's fair to say? I'm looking in from the outside, and I don't see leadership. Do you?
People no, people elect the mayor to lead, and it's a good point that you brought up. That means listening, communicating honestly, and making sure City Hall focuses on issues that matter most to residents. Every decision won't please everyone, of course, but people deserve to know why decisions are made and how they connect to the priorities that we care about. If public safety, reliable services, road maintenance, and neighborhood quality are the top concerns people are raising, then these concerns should be front and center in City Hall. Leadership also means being visible, Brad, in the community, meeting residents, of course, and hearing directly from them instead of relying on reports from statistics. And, that's one thing that I'm really good at. You will find me everywhere and wanting to know what's going on and talking to people. And when you talk about businesses, you need to talk about this. You need to get tough on crime. We need to start arresting people. We need to stop allowing people to walk away from committing a crime with zero consequences. And that's what we're seeing right now. People are committing crimes and walking away. Businesses have had enough. You see what's happening in the city. Businesses are being robbed every day. Security guards can't do their jobs. They can't even restrain somebody. Businesses, the amount of theft is making businesses close down, the red tape. And then the biggest part of the city of Winnipeg is planning department. Is the planning department really doing your job? Are you serious? You're supposed to be planning Winnipeg around businesses that bring people downtown, businesses that will light up downtown, businesses that will make downtown a busy place where people want to come. But no, we have businesses downtown, well, very little businesses downtown that attract people. We need to get our planning department to put businesses in the downtown area that are gonna bring people there and want people to come downtown. After a Jets game, there's literally nothing to do downtown. 5 minutes later, the place is empty. Why? Crime. 2, the city's not lit up. 3, there's a lack of patrols and police walking down the streets. One of my plans is to have more cadets on the streets in your neighborhoods, walking around, being the eyes for the city of Winnipeg Police. We need to bring a vibrant downtown back. The only way to do that is by bringing vibrant businesses downtown, by getting the city of Winnipeg to stop sending their goons out to pick on businesses all the time. And it's happening, Brad. It's happening all the time. You send out these enforcement officers that keep harassing businesses. Tomorrow on my Facebook page, you got to see this. You got to see this, and then you got to comment on it. And I might even do it after the show tonight. So there's a business in the city of Winnipeg that's selling knives. They're selling all kinds of pellet guns and BB guns and all that kind of stuff. And it's right in the north end of the city. So I walked in there today because somebody told me about it. And I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw what I saw. With the amount of crime that's going on in the city, with the amount of violence that's going on in the city, this store is selling guns that look identical to a gun that you would
A 9mm, yeah.
Yeah, 9mm, whatever it may be. And they're selling knives and they're selling very dangerous weapons at the store, and it's right downtown, right in the heart of the north end. And I'm thinking, so they allow businesses to operate selling this stuff, the stuff that's causing people to die on our streets. No ID required, no age restriction. You walk
No
in, you buy
pal.
yourself a knife, no pal, and you go out and you point a gun at somebody and it looks real. And, a business got shot up the other day, and it happened right here in Winnipeg. It happened with a pellet gun. So,
And look, they're not just shooting pellets. Those ball bearings that they're shooting now in those guns are a whole lot bigger than pellets or BBs. They don't penetrate the skin because it's just a round shot and it's not going at the velocity that a normal gun would go at. But to be honest, it's still going to put holes in things like windows, doors, break and enters, all that sort of stuff. So, they are dangerous.
So I want you to look at my Facebook page tomorrow and just take a peek at what you're going to see, and you're going to be very disturbed considering they came after me, the city of Winnipeg, because I had cameras up to protect the citizens that walk into the funeral home and my business and everything else that goes on around there. But, they said, hey, you need a permit to put cameras up in a commercial building. Well, no one's ever heard of that before. Half of the alarm companies and people that install cameras never heard of that before, but they came after me and gave me a $1,000 fine. Why? Because I challenged the status quo. I challenged the status quo, and they didn't like that, so they came after me, and they tried to set an example out of me. And the city of Winnipeg's been chasing me and giving me fines. I'm up to $13,000 in fines because I'm challenging every system. And it's about time somebody challenged the system, because this city needs somebody to stand up for the citizens and stand up for what's wrong. And it seems like everything good is bad, Brad. Everything bad is good. Does that make any sense to you?
It does. And you know what? You've said it before that one of your priorities is restoring confidence in not only the city of Winnipeg and the residents of the city of Winnipeg, but also for Winnipeg Transit. But, a lot of incidents are starting to happen on transit, and that's where we've got to start to take accountability and start to come up with solutions. So what does that actually look like for you, Mike, as you head into this?
Transit needs to be reliable. I really feel sorry for the people that are taking transit It's their main source of getting around, getting to work, getting to school, shopping, all that kind of stuff. And we need to make it reliable and accessible. And people need to feel safe when they get on a bus or stand at a bus stop. That includes reviewing the routes and service levels, improving the environment around bus stops, where the city has responsibility, ensuring drivers feel supported, and working with transit management and police for practical solutions and safe measures. Like I said, maybe we need to put transit police on these buses, a police system that just takes care of transit. Public confidence grows when people see improvements they can actually experience, whether that's better service, cleaner facilities, or visible efforts improving safety. Transit is an essential service and it deserves attention. Brad, something I'd like you to do while we're doing this right now, and I know we have more questions, but why don't we go, there's a whole bunch of stuff on our chat. Why don't we go to the chat? Why don't you read some of them? Why don't we see what people are saying? We want you to leave comments. We want to give you answers. We want to hear what you have to say. But before you do that, Brad.
Yeah, Debbie Lamoureux says, hey, they're a bunch of buffoons. And they're not talking about transit or you. They're talking about, everybody else that seems to be running this city, or so-called running this city. Debbie says, it's all backwards. Janelle Lang says, everything is backwards. You're right, Mike. The murders and the killers, they're out there. And it needs to be taken seriously. Then there's Patricia Hunt's comment where we need to take it seriously on the 2 homes being built on one property. She said she called 311 on Monday and told them there was no zoning. They had permits, but was not signed off on how they can do the work. And a Belgian top level of the homes looking into yards. How is this allowed? So it sounds like home builders are peeking over people's fences and trying to figure out how they get more space to create another property on top of the first property that's there.
Well, you saw that where you just moved from, right before you got into your neighborhood, you saw those houses that were being built right across the street from your entrance. And they were like little tiny long properties that were tall. And people are complaining about that. And, there's a certain group of people that are putting those up and they're using the same blueprint to do every house. And people are frustrated with it and they are mad. And I don't blame them. You have a $700,000 house with neighbors peeking in at you and, like 20 people living in the house next to you.
Yeah, Mike, one of the things that comes up here on the comments, Mike Cherry says, I do hope when your mayor meetings start, they start on time so we can see who the stragglers are that can't get to the job on time. I'm sure that's
Mike,
a common thing.
I know Mike's a voter who's not sure. I've read his comments. Mike, be assured of one thing. I am going to be the mayor that's going to make change in the city. I'm just not a talker. I'm just not a guy who wants to get elected because I want to get elected. I want you to know that I have a job already. I do really well as a funeral director, and I don't need to be mayor. I'm running for mayor because my brother was murdered, and I specifically am doing things in his memory, making change, making the city safer because I don't want to see anyone else dying. That doesn't just go on crime. It goes on every single little thing that's wrong with the city. We are going to tackle so many items that are wrong with the city that you are going to be amazed at how fast things could get done.
Mike, when we first hooked up after, a short hiatus there of not seeing each other for a while because I was in Alberta and you were in Manitoba, we reconnected 10 years ago. And when we did that, I know I looked at you and I said, Mike, how come this city hasn't gotten any better? How come this city hasn't grown the way that it should? Like I watch other cities throughout Alberta grow while I was here for that 25 years that I was in Alberta. And again, I'm back here now, but that 25 years, I watched a lot of change. I watched a lot of infrastructure get developed. Infrastructure in Winnipeg has been something that's been developed a very long time ago. Downtown is one of the oldest downtowns in history based on, you got off the boat in New York, and then you made your way to Toronto, and then you made your way to Winnipeg, and then you moved west. That's how the West kind of formed. So, not kind of, it did. And that being said, Winnipeg has a lot of history, but the infrastructure too is old. Infrastructure in downtown Winnipeg is something that's, in a sense, falling apart in certain places. Certain mayors have paid attention to it, tried to rebuild different sections and districts, quadrants, quarters, whatever you want to call them. And, heritage funds, things like that, put money towards, saving that beautiful vintage look of those buildings downtown and the cobblestone streets and everything that Winnipeg has to offer. And really, when I got back, I was like, man, where's all the new stuff? How come we're still swimming in the same crappy pools? How come we're still skating in the same crappy hockey rinks? Don't you guys have anything new? Where's the new water park facility? How come there's no water slides? Where's West Edmonton Mall in Winnipeg? Where's the Winnipeg Hot Shot Mall? There isn't one. Polo Park is nothing. Eaton Place is dead. Portage Place died. All of these, the Bay's gone. Man, we got nothing. And I questioned
Downtown
you on all that. And I said, Mike, what are you, how could you let this happen, buddy? And then you went, I don't know, man. I'm been working. And then you go, they just murdered my brother. You got my attention, Brad. I remember what you said, right?
Yeah. It's, when you have somebody in your family who's murdered, and you make a promise that you're going to make change in his memory, you need to stand up and make that change. And, Debbie said, Mike, your brother's Kyriakis is looking down and proud of you. And I hope he is, because I'm going to make you prouder, little brother. I miss you every day of the week. And, it's tough to be here without you. And I see Mom, struggling daily, and she's lost a lot of years of her life because of, your murder. And a lot of people loved you and a lot of people cared about you. And I'm going to give my heart and soul into making change. Downtown should be a place where people want to work, they want to shop, they want to attend events, and they want to spend time. That means supporting businesses, keeping streets clean, addressing vandalism promptly, improving lighting and maintenance, encouraging events that bring people downtown, and working with partners on public safety. Downtown belongs to everyone. When businesses succeed and people feel comfortable, visiting the whole downtown would be beneficial to all of us. And until we have a mayor who's going to work hard on building a downtown, and that's one of the things in my heart, is to build downtown. I grew up downtown between, Sargent and Ellis on Toronto Street. And, talking about my brother there for a couple of seconds got me a little emotional.
Mike, I gotta bring this one up before we get out of the show here and end the show. It's a good comment by Susan Hall, and I think this is reflective of where we're trying to head with the whole campaign of you running for mayor. Everything you guys are talking about will surely only get worse if Gillingham wins again. That's why we all desperately need Mike to win. We've looked at the other candidates. You may have seen some of the other candidates out there too. We're not knocking them. We're not calling them down. We're not telling you who they are either. And there's a reason for that. But the reality here is that there's one candidate who's got focus, determination, drive, and a mission that came from a tragic incident that will drive a human being beyond just doing the norm. And that's exactly where Mike is at. He's going to drive this beyond the norm. He's going to get things done. And when he does that, the city of Winnipeg will be a better place for it. Mike, I can't say enough. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Is there any last words that you want to get in before we wrap up the show tonight, Mike?
Just want to really thank everyone who comes and watches the show every week and supports us. And you've done it for a long time. So I ask you, please like, share, and follow the show. Tell people about what we're doing. Tell people about the show and how the show is helping to bring change to the people listening to you, making the changes that you want, that you need. And join us. It's a night that I'd like to see the Cork and Flame packed. I'd like to see it so packed because this is where it all began. January 24th, 2024, when Kyriakis was murdered outside his restaurant. So this is going to be a very special night for our family. So please join us. And that's next Wednesday, the 12th, Cork and Flame between 6 and 9. Something else we need. You can't win this election. You see Scott Gillingham's already got billboards out there. He's got signs out there. He's got money backing him. I'm not part of that status quo, and I'm not accepting money from people because they want favors in return. I'm accepting money from citizens like you. You
So
can
where
go to
can
our
people
website.
donate, Mike? We need donations to come in. So where can people donate to you?
They could go to our website, which is MikeFromAir2026.com. You could volunteer there. You can ask for a sign. You can ask for the Mike from Air buttons. You can ask for the bumper stickers that we have. Support the campaign. If you want change, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, tell people about Mike Vogiatzakis. Get them to go to the website. There's a whole bunch of things on there that will convince you that I will be the next mayor to make change in the city. We need your help. Without you, this isn't possible. We need some of your money, because without your money, this isn't possible. If you donate $100, you get $75 back from the government. So help us out any way you can. But join us at the Cork and Flame. And again, don't forget, Advanced League Community Center. Everyone's been asking us for come to the North End. We're coming there. In the meantime, please like, share, and follow. Brad, thank you again for being an amazing host. I know you weren't feeling well tonight, but let me tell you something, buddy. You did great.
Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, and so did you. Thank you to
Take
all of
care
our
of
viewers
yourselves.
and listeners. We can't do it without you guys. You guys are really important to us all, and this can't happen unless you like, share, and follow the show. So make sure you do all three of those things before you sign off tonight. Make sure you tell your friends, your neighbors. Some of the stuff that we talk about, you might not want to talk to somebody else about, and that's okay. But we can say it for you. All you have to do is share. It's that simple.
We will.
Thanks a lot for being
Take
here,
care of
everybody.
Take care of yourselves and each other. You won't hear a mayoral candidate saying this. God bless you and your families. Good night.
Good night, everybody.